I was just like, yo, are you dumb? This is a very, 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 very attractive guy. And it's not like he didn't know the Lord at all. This burger. Sorry, y'all. I was super hungry and I was a little too greedy because I ate that burger and then I recorded the whole video and I looked at the footage and there was a piece of burger in my tooth and I was like, this is not gonna work. So I'm re-recording this video again. So the reason why I'm making this video is because I've been seeing so many videos on the internet of people talking about how God told me that this person was the one, that God told me that this was my spouse. And I figured I will share my story on how God told me that this person was not the one for me. So my friends and I wanted to have like a girls' weekend. We went out to the city, we booked a hotel, we went to the spa, like we had a really good time. And so later that night we wanted to go out to dinner. We actually like went to one restaurant and it was like more of like a bar lounge, like there was like no tables. We were like, we just want to sit and eat. So we ended up leaving and then going to another restaurant which had tables. And so we like ordered tacos and we were just like chilling, you know? Then this guy and his coworker comes to our table. Mind you, this guy is like our age, you know, similar. His coworker is like twice our age. And we're like, what is going on? But his coworker was chatting. Y'all, when I tell you, I just wanted to eat my tacos. I was so focused on my tacos. I was trying to be nice, but I was hungry. So his coworker eventually leaves, but the guy stays. And he was just like, oh, like, can I sit down with y'all? I was just like, sure, if you want to sit, go right ahead. Mind you, I'm still focused on my tacos because like, I just didn't care. We're talking and he's just like, oh, like the tacos look really good. Like, should I get it? I was like, yeah, you should get tacos. It's really good. So he gets the tacos. We're all just like chatting a little bit. Mind you, this place was like loud. So it's like, I could barely hear him and like, it was just a lot going on. So, but he was mad cool. So towards like the end of like, before we left, my friend was like focusing on the bill and one of my friends was like looking at the guy dancing behind her or whatever. And this guy turns and looks at me and he's just like, can I get your number? I was like, me? Y'all, I was so shocked. I was shocked because I was like, I didn't have on no makeup. Like, I wasn't looking like my prettiest. And I'm not saying that that's what guys want, but like, I didn't feel like, wow, like a guy would take a second look at me. Not that I think that I'm ugly. I'm not insecure, but I was just really shocked that this attractive man is asking me for my number. And since we were in New York City, I didn't want to get stolen. So I put my number in his phone. And then my friends and I, we ended up getting an Uber and going back to our hotel. So while we were waiting for the Uber, my friend was just like, oh, like I saw him give you his phone. Like, did you guys exchange social media? And I was just like, he asked me for my number. My friends were shooketh. They were shocked. They were like, wait, when did that happen? I was like, yo, he's good because he really just like chose the perfect opportunity to ask me. But yeah, I was telling them, they were so shocked. And you know, girls, like we just need a first name and we can find that person's social media, where they live, what their aunt's name is, what their cousin does for work. So my friend actually found his Instagram in like a matter of minutes. So we find his Insta. She was like, he got a Bible verse in his bio. I was like, really? Now, mind you, this was a very attractive guy, all right? If you were to open up the dictionary and look up tall, dark, and handsome, he will be there. He'll be part of the number. Now, I'm not saying that like I only like tall, dark, and handsome guys. I really have no preference. Dark skin, light skin, like I don't care. But he was really tall. Like I'm 5'9", so I'm already tall, but he was like 6'7", like he was tall. But yeah, so so I was like really starting to think about this. I was just like, huh. because I had no intention of texting him back or answering the call or anything, because I was just like, we met in New York City at a restaurant, like on the strip, like a street of like other restaurants and stuff, and people are like hanging out, all this stuff. I was like, this guy is not the man of God that I'm gonna marry. But when I saw that, I was like, well then, this could be something. So when we got back to the hotel, so I was like in the bathroom, and then my phone rings and I answer it, and it's him. And he was just like, hey, this is so-and-so, we met tonight, and I was just calling to see if you would like to go on a date. I would like to take you out. Like, can you send me your schedule for this week? I was just like, okay. Like, when I tell you, I love a man who leads and pursues, and he really did that very, very well. Like, got my number, followed up with a call that same day. And then the next morning he texted me like, hey, just want to follow up, like, please send me like your schedule. I would like to take you on a date. And like when he had called, he was like a little nervous, which I thought was so adorable. But because like it just showed that he was like really sweet, really genuine. And like, if there's one thing that I absolutely look for and love, is a guy who is kind, who is sweet, who is caring, compassionate, because some of these guys nowadays, they have attitude, they're not nice, they don't smile. It's just like, wow, like who hurt you, bro? But anyway, so this was on a Saturday. So it was a long weekend, and so that Monday I was off from work. So I was like, hey, like if you want to go out on Monday, like I'm available if that works for you. And he was like, yeah, that works. So we went to a restaurant in Manhattan. It was really nice. It was super cool. And if there's one thing you should know about me, is that when I go on a date with someone, or if I'm getting to know someone, I have questions, okay? This helps me to decide if this is someone that I should have a second date with or not, because I'm not in the business of wasting my time or anyone else's time. So like these questions really help me decide if I want to move forward or not. So I'm asking the questions, and like, you know, of course, one of my questions is like, do you have a relationship with God? If so, what does that look like in your daily life? Like, these are things I gotta know. So he's sharing with me that he grew up in church, parents like have a church or something like that. I think he's like a PK. I don't know, something of the lines of that. And like goes to their church. So I'm thinking like, yo, this is the one for me. Like, I was like, tell me more about you, your upbringing and your love for the Lord. So then I started asking more deep questions, the little more uncomfortable questions, and the answers were starting to be a little, This is where I was starting to realize, I don't know if we should move forward. So when we were finished at the restaurant, we like just were walking around the city, and he was just asking me questions. I was kind of in my head, because I was kind of just like reviewing the questions that I had asked that were a little like, the answers were more so just showing me like this person doesn't align with you spiritually and where you're at, which is not a bad thing. But like, as for me, like I'm not trying to date someone who cannot lead me spiritually, who's not on the same type of time in a lot of different aspects. So we're like walking around the city, he's like asking me questions, you know, talking about wanting to go on another date. And he was just kind of like, I think he noticed that I was like kind of quiet, and he was just like, what's going through your mind? Which was such a sweet question. Like, I could tell that he was very attentive to like other people's emotions, his emotions. And I love that. I was like, this is like, you're so great. But I was like kind of sharing a little bit my reservations, but at the end of the day, also safety is very important. And so if there's one thing that I do not do, is that if I know that I'm not going to go on another date with someone, I do not tell them in person on that date, because again, I did not want to be stolen. Okay. So I didn't really share too much, but I was just sharing my reservations, and he kind of was just like nah, like trying to convince me otherwise. So I like kind of like share this, like the date details with my girls, of course, and they also had the same eyebrow raises that I did, and they were kind of like, I don't think this is for you. I was like, but he's so perfect. I'm the type of person where I just don't like to ghost someone. Like, I like to be very upfront and honest, because I never want someone to be confused as to like why like I didn't want to move forward with them. I never want someone to assume what it is that they did, or have them like go crazy in their mind trying to figure out like why didn't she like me? Why didn't I always like to be very clear, so that way like their insecurities doesn't like try to like come and creep up on them, like, because that's how it would be for me. And so that's why I want to make sure that like for people I don't do that. So I kind of just shared like, hey, like can we like talk later, like can I call you? And he was like, yeah, of course, like we could FaceTime. I was like, why are you gonna FaceTime? But it was fine. I actually prefer FaceTime, but like considering that I was kind of basically gonna like tell him that I didn't want to see him again, I didn't really want to do that face to face, but it was okay. We're grown. So we had a FaceTime, and I was sharing my reservations, and he kind of was like, like although like spiritually I may not be here, like maybe like this is why we met, like you can help me to get to that point spiritually. And this can work for some people. It very well may work for some. However, I already know that's something that I do not want to do. And so I kind of was just like, no, like I'm definitely looking for someone to lead me spiritually, who is the leader in that aspect. And so like we just weren't on the same type of time, like just to be straight up. So it was a very long conversation, which I was not expecting, but he really was like trying to share like how and why this should work. And I don't know if he was just like being just a guy and he just like sharing all the things that he knew I wanted to hear, but let's just say he made the conversation very, very hard to have. But I really knew I had to just stand on business and just be like, hey, like we can't move forward. It was kind of just like looking, I was just like, yo, are you dumb? This is a very, 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 very attractive guy. And it's not like he didn't know the Lord at all. Anyways, this is not even the part where God made it very clear that this person is not someone that I need to be with. So a year later, mind you, I have not spoken to this guy since that last conversation that we had, but a year later, I remember I was talking to someone, and they were kind of just like, for your age and for what you're looking for in a guy, it's going to be very hard to find, like all this stuff. And I just remember just feeling so discouraged and just feeling so like hurt, because I was just like, man, like that person's kind of right. Meanwhile, they weren't, but in that moment, it kind of was just like, they're kind of right. So after hearing that, like, I just remember thinking to myself, I was just like, you know what? Like, maybe I should have given that guy a chance. Like, that was the last guy I went on a date with. Like, maybe I should have, like, given him a chance. And mind you, this was, like, a thought in my mind for a split second. Like, I was not going to reach out to this guy, but this was just a split second thought. But during this time, I was actually fasting. And when you fast, like, you become more spiritually sensitive to the Holy Spirit and like to what God is saying. So I remember literally I was like on this couch watching TV, and I fell asleep, and I had a dream. So in this dream, it was me and two other girls from my church. We were on our way to the city to pick up this guy that I had went on this date with a year ago and go to church, right? So we like crossed this bridge to get into the city. We picked him up, and when it was time to cross the bridge to go to church, the bridge was closed off. And a lot of cars were like stopped from going because it was like icy or something, and so we couldn't cross the bridge. So as soon as so everyone's like getting out their car, talking to each other, like we're just trying to figure out what's going on. So one of the girls that I was with comes up to me and she was just like, do you know this guy? And I was just like, why? She was just like, I feel really uncomfortable around him. He's saying like inappropriate stuff. And I was like, what? I was just like, oh, absolutely not. He is not coming back with us. Like, do not worry. Like, he's not getting back in the car with us. Like, don't worry at all. As soon as I was just like, yeah, he's not coming back with us, the bridge just happened to open and we were able to go drive to church. And when I woke up from that dream, I was just like, wow, God. I had to laugh. I was like, God, I was not serious. I wasn't gonna reach out to him. Like, geez, you give me a whole dream pretty much showing me that this guy was going to take me away from God. Like, the dream was so clear. It was so clear. Like, how is it that we crossed the bridge to get there, but when it's time to go back with this guy now, we can't? So God was really showing me that this guy was not the one for me, and he was going to take me away from God, and he was going to take me away from the things of God and like all these different things. And I was just like, I literally just had to just be like, bruh. I was like, God, like, wow. I mean, there were a number of things that I got from the dream, and it just showed me that like God is just so merciful, and he's just so gracious, and he's just so kind, that even a thought that I had for a split second, he gave me a dream to shut it down, that I do not need to, go back to someone that I already knew wasn't for me out of being discouraged, thinking that I'm not gonna find the one that God has for me. And so it just showed me that, God loves me so much. And it's like, you say it all the time and you know it, but like little things like that, not even little, but things like that really showed me like, wow, like God, literally, a thought that I didn't even have for a full second, literally God cares about me so much that he will make it clear, like, hey, you did not make the wrong decision. You made the right decision. Because if you would have been with this person, they would have taken you away from God, the calling that I have on your life. And it also showed me that like God is very serious about the person that I marry. Because if I just had a split second thought about somebody that I wasn't even gonna text, call, nothing, he's just like, nah, the person that I have for you, like, the assignment is so great. Like the calling that y'all have on your marriage is so great. You can't afford to be with anyone who I have not called for you to be with. That dream really just showed me that God is not playing when it comes to my future spouse, my future husband. Like, he is not playing about that. And I can't play about that either. And so that dream really just kind of shook me a little bit to really just like, recognize that like God has not forgotten about me as far as like when it comes to my husband. Like, he hasn't, it's not something that he's just like, this girl, I'll deal with it later. But no, he's very intentional about that, to the point that he will show me like, hey, you might have thought that that was a good person that you gave up, but in all actuality, that is not the person that you needed to be with. So that is how God shared with me that this was the person that I did not need to be with. And, for any of you watching this video, I really pray that it encourages you to trust God, to trust when the Holy Spirit is telling you no, and to know that like God is really clear. And this is why fasting and praying is so important, because when I had that dream, I was actually fasting. And I wasn't like necessarily fasting like, oh God, show me who my husband is. Like, I was just fasting. And I didn't even remember what the topic was that day, but yeah, I was fasting and I was just like, whoa. So it also showed me that I need to definitely fast more, because God really desires for us to hear the things that he's sharing with us and to be keen to the Holy Spirit. And fasting definitely allows us to be able to do so. So yeah. So my encouragement, my advice to you is that when you are, getting to know someone or like going on a date, definitely make sure that you have questions set up ahead of time that can really help you to kind of see where this person is at, to see if they align with you spiritually, emotionally, like on so many different levels. Because if you are sitting in front of a very attractive person, it can get distracting and you could just be like, la, 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 like, I'll ask the hard stuff later. Meanwhile, you need to ask the hard stuff ahead of time so that way you're getting the answers before you catch feelings. Because once you catch them feelings, just know it's so much harder to go back. But that is my story on how God told me that this guy was not the one for me. So I pray that you are encouraged by it, or that if you are, trying to discern whether to move forward or not, that God will really make it very clear. Definitely seek God, because he will tell you if this person is for you or not, and he'll make it very clear. So make sure that you listen and you are keen to his signs. But y'all already know the deal. You can comment below or you can email me at behismasterpiece@gmail.com. Go out, be kind, be caring, be loving, and as always, be his masterpiece. Bye, y'all.